I thought this was interesting. It says the 2023 housing market is looking up. Now, I don't know what that means. Like, was it down before? Really? Oh, man. Maybe I screwed that up there. I probably missed half of my tweet on the repair. But anyway, uh, three things that should give home buyers real hope. So what I'm reading from this is that home buyers had no hope. Well, that's not the way it went, really. There's been a couple months here where you could buy a house and stand a good chance of getting it without even bidding more than asking. It says after suffering all-time lows during the COVID-19 pandemic, the supply of homes for sales rebounded with a bang. January marked a whopping 65% more real estate agents than the same month a year earlier, according to a recent inventory report from Realtor.com. Doesn't really mean anything. It was such an odd time in the past. I'm not comfortable with. Let me move this down a little bit because my let me change this too. My autofocus is like not happy with me. So let me just raise this like this. There's got to be enough space between me and the microphone so that the focus doesn't freak out. Hopefully that works. Sorry to cut you off in the middle of the show. It says, and while home prices are still up year over year, they declined from the pandemic peak. January's median home list price clocked in at 400,000, holding steady since December, but much lower than June's high of 450 or 449. Okay, that's good. It says in addition to the deluge of homes for sale at more reasonable prices, mortgage rates are also down from their 20-year high, which broke 7% in November. For the week ending January 26th, Freddie Mac found that rates for a 30-year fixed rate loan averaged a mere 6.13%. And if you go to today only, you were at below 6%. These three things, lower mortgage rates, stabilizing home prices, and a glut of listings, spelling a long overdue opportunity for home buyers to jump in the market and snag a deal. I do not believe that there are a glut of listings. In fact, with my new buyers, I did take a look at their what would I say? Their wants, okay, what they want in a home, price, features. Ran a report on a pretty huge swath of St. Louis, and there's like 24 listings total. And of those, there's like 2 or 3 that have been on the market for more than 4 days. So I have to disagree with the national real estate market consensus, at least as far as St. Louis is concerned. In the surrounding areas, it's still very, very tight here inventory wise. The fact that mortgage rates are down from their November highs means that today's home buyers aren't paying quite as much as they did before, says Daniel Hale, chief economist of Realtor.com. But yes, that causes problems with comps because sellers are using comps from when rates were 2%. 6 months ago, 2 to 3%. They're not using the rates when they were 7%. So it's problematic. It says, plus mortgage rates may dip lower still. Now, we read from Fortune that the Fed is raising rates, borrowing rates, and that in theory, housing rates or mortgage rates should follow that path, but they didn't so far. So what's going on? It says, further declines in inflation are expected at this point, but if they register faster than expected, that could mean a further drop in mortgage rates. That would bring back purchasing power for buyers and help close the current gap between what many sellers hope to sell for and what many buyers are willing to pay. Now, see, I don't want to go back to that market on either side. It wasn't good for the buyers, and it was great for the sellers unless they had to move. If you became an eventual buyer, it was no good for you either. I don't ever want to see that mania again. It was terrible. Do you know what it's like to tell people that they didn't get a house, 7 and 8 times, and they had bid like $50 to $60 to $100,000 over what the asking price was? It's soul crushing. It's soul crushing. An interesting year for real estate. It says, yet the unpredictability of what interest rates might do next has many buyers and sellers nervous about forging ahead. Well, if you're a seller, as long as you price your home right, don't worry about it. You should be in good shape. And if you're a buyer, don't chase after one house. If you see one house that you like, that's okay. But just know that there's always another house. It says January data tells us that it's going to be an interesting year. Both sellers and buyers are feeling their way out of this market stalemate with a keen eye on the broader economy and interest rates. But this isn't true here in St. Louis. Again, I can't say anything for somewhere else, but it's not true here in St. Louis. In St. Louis, if the house is priced right, you could still get multiple offers. I have a house that we're going to go see this weekend where I couldn't even get a showing for the first day that it was on the market. It was already taken up. I doubt that it's even going to be available by the time we get to the house. I'm hopeful, but I'm not confident. It says, While steadily climbing inventory means buyers can enjoy plenty of homes to shop and a more balanced negotiation with sellers, their affordability challenges persist. Despite the recent dip in the rates, median mortgage payments are still about $750 higher each month than they were just 1 year earlier. And that's kind of what I see. It says, additionally, many potential buyers are facing financial crunches in many aspects of their lives due to stubborn inflation. And that's what I'm saying. If you increase this, if you go back, I mean, inflation in housing, I mean, that level of inflation was worse than pretty much any other inflation you were seeing. All that inflation was coming from the housing market. And by coming through the housing market, it was causing inflation in other industries. Um, so it says the net result, many bottom line minded buyers are unable or unwilling to make offers on homes as aggressively as they were a few months ago, if at all. Yeah, but I don't, so as a result, many homes are simply sitting on the market an average of 75 days, way longer than the June rush, when listings lingered a mere 32 days before being snapped up. But again, like I'm telling you, if you price your house right as a seller in St. Louis, you're probably going to get multiple offers still. I mean, this is in February of 2023. That's why inventory is so much higher. It's not that homes are going up for sale. Rather, the ones that are on the market already aren't selling as fast. I mean, I take buyers to homes now and they're sold before we can even make a decision on whether or not we're going to write an offer. This happened 2 weeks ago to me. So this is not my reality. This is not what I'm seeing. It says why home sellers are hibernating. Well, I told you why home sellers are hibernating today. They're hibernating because, again, if they've got a 2 or 3% interest rate, they don't want to move. It says, meanwhile, many potential sellers are remaining in their homes rather than listing one for one simple reason. They're locked into mortgage rates with low interest rates they aren't willing to give up. I'm being performative. Sellers might also be hesitant to list properties that will simply sit there growing stale and with nary an offer in sight. Well, how would you know that you're not going to get an offer if you don't put it on the market? And so the increase in listings, which breaks down to 248,000 more homes on any given January day, hides an important caveat. In June, new listings were down 2.8% over year-over-year basis, following a much steeper year-over-year drop of 21% in December. So what they're saying, what that means is there are houses that are on the market longer, which is what's creating the inventory, not new houses coming on the market, not new inventory coming on the market. The inventory on the market is staying on the market longer. Why does this decline in fresh homes for sale matter? Because new listings help drum up demand and attract buyers, many of whom are already checked out, listings that have been lingering on the market for months. That's right. That's right. I mean, why would it have to be on the market for 30 days? What's wrong with it? Even now. Fresh listings are a new opportunity for buyers because they might mean they will better fit the needs and budget of potential buyers. However, she urges buyers to give those long in the tooth listings another look, since this is where sellers might be desperate enough to lower prices. But we don't know. We don't know. And so we could be going to houses and wanting to write lowball offers only to be shunned by the seller because they still believe it's a strong market. Just because they personally don't benefit from their house doesn't mean they don't think that they should benefit based on people selling their houses around them, their family and friends, sphere of influence type things. One benefit to buyers of looking at older listings is that their sellers may be more willing to negotiate. Sellers of new listings are typically going to want to see how many offers they can attract in a week or more before considering negotiating with a buyer. That's true. Where inventory is soaring, regions in the South and West have been taking a beating in the market downturn, with supply far outweighing demand, sometimes by staggering numbers. Take Nashville, Tennessee, a pandemic darling. The once hot Nashville saw its inventory grow by a whopping 304% on a year-over-year basis, according to Realtor.com data. In 2021, we had just over 3,600 units available on the market. At the end of December, we had just over 8,200 units. So they've got more. It says Copeland explains that there are several factors that play in the rise in inventory. One is pricing, with home sellers still putting homes on the market for $25,000 over comparable properties. That's ridiculous. Sellers aren't being as realistic with pricing straight out of the gate. When you couple that with higher interest rates, it causes a slowdown. I agree with that. Hale agrees with this on the ground assessment. What we see in the data is that while home sellers are more likely than a year ago to reduce their asking price, the majority of home sellers are still not making reductions. That's right. I mean, they saw their neighbor sell a house for X. They want to get more than X. It's like a natural feeling. It doesn't matter. Like if I go right now, if someone calls me for a listing appointment, they're going to say, how much do you think we can sell this house for? And I'm going to be kind of on the low end. Okay. Somebody else, some other agent might come in there and say, we can sell it for, 25% more than what John said. They can't. They're not going to. My listings are great. But that doesn't stop people from being greedy and wanting to have more. It's that greed and that feeling of pride of getting the highest price in a neighborhood. It's like a drug straight to the brain. I mean, it's just amazing. What will happen in the housing market year ahead? Well, we don't know. We don't know. There could be global problems. We really don't. I mean, so anything, this is just speculation. Says to get the market moving again, which again, to me, the market's moving just fine. Leave it alone. Perhaps both buyers and sellers need to budge and make some concessions so they can meet in the middle. I mean, if you're a buyer, okay, and you're reading this, and you've been looking at houses for the past 6 months and not gotten a house under contract, that's the last thing you want to hear is that you need to be giving more concessions. Like you're done with giving concessions. It's your time to buy. With macroeconomic conditions continuing to shift and adjust, it's more important than ever to focus what you can control and on your individual goals. That is absolutely right. When you go to the marketplace, everything has to be looked at through uh, 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 a lens of, is this the right decision for me as the buyer? How am I impacted by this decision to purchase or to move along to a different home? As a seller, you can't create more buyers, but you can price appropriately for the buyers that are in the market. 100% right. Very hard to do um, for one's ego. As for buyers, don't forget your negotiating power as the new year gears up rather than letting high listings prices. Wait a minute. As for buyers, don't forget your negotiating power as the new year gears up rather than letting high listings prices push them past what they can afford. As a buyer, you can't set the market price, but you can determine what you're comfortable paying and make the best offer you can on a home that fits your needs and falls within your budget range. Yes, but I would argue that as a seller, you also can't set the market price. You're at the mercy of buyers buying your home.